Conscience, the awareness of goodness, truth, and beauty. Conscience is the awareness of goodness, truth, and beauty, and the soul being of spirit. It only lives to relate to these wonderful fixtures. We define this triune force, goodness, truth, and beauty, as love. For as one force, this three as one was the first trigger of consciousness, our awareness as love. It sparked our first desires. We are fixed as the addict, and we only live to embrace the more of the experiences of love. Our conscience is that intrinsic relationship to love. Many might be shocked at this principle, so I will explain this one in details. No soul can be possessed if the conscience is healthy, but all die when conscience is sacrificed. Without it, we have no souls, for the soul was established again at the source of this triune force. So we can say our soul is conscience, we can say our heart is conscience, and we can say that our love is conscience. Whatever way we say it, the sacrificing of the human soul can only be by that death of the conscience. A dead soul means there is no growth, and the being will not elevate. He is flatlined to that same space. The most truthful word for the definition of heart or soul is conscience. The meaning of love is conscience. Having honest awareness of self concerning what is good, true, or beautiful, or what is really our truth, without that awareness of self being justified, what is outside will take power over what is within. Conscience is that intrinsic source of one's truth to self. By not being true to oneself, a soul dies. No other way can any soul die, for it is autonomous. To say one has no soul is simply that he has no merit for growth or improvement. Everyone might have soul, as there is ever a self-determining will to be, but for some it does not work to create an improvement. If it is flat, the being will be consistently demoted to lower forms. If it elevates to higher vibratory forms, it improves the higher experiences in desire. A goat who now becomes a sheep was demoted. How horrible to go from God to human, or to not elevate from being a prisoner in hell. Reason and awareness, self-thought is autonomous. Tell me that self-thought is not the absolute name for God Almighty, and you can debunk these perspectives. If not, you can only endorse it as truth. For this reason, conscience is the authority of God inside us, and outside of us, there is no God to speak to us. We must listen from within. Hello again, my people. It is Skywalker here. Today, this topic might seem impossible to many. It is very deep, but it is essential to where we are going now. I must pick these topics, and when they seem like mere complications, they will appear as boring, but they are the necessary keys to clarity for the things that are yet ahead. Otherwise, you will only hear words that have no meanings. I try to explain to the very details as much as possible, especially with the questions surrounding the matrix, which has no power over us. But I see the reasons for us to dig deeper into the wisdom of tenets that fortify our own strengths and make their demons go down. Without this self-awareness of our own power over a matrix or world order, we will succumb to external, non-existing fear. If you like this video, then please press the button to show it. You can subscribe to keep connected with the upcoming reasoning that eventually will get to clarity. Only in conscience do we find empathy, and only in empathy will there be a place for justice to all. Also, conscience, although being autonomous as intrinsic as love, can only be defined where intelligence was given. It came at the point of generic consciousness. It is awareness of what you are, goodness, truth, and beauty. It is not comfortable outside of these walls because generic consciousness is the spark of intelligence. We must deduce that wherever intelligence is given by autonomous conscience, it was given to authority, and wherever conscience was given, it is given to that awareness of the authority, that defining of self, or the definition of self. Conscience is the truth to self. In other words, if you have intelligence, you are the authority of self. And if you have authority, then you must be your own definer. You only put a steering wheel inside a car for the purpose of steering wheels. And if you have consciousness, it is evidence that the conscience was sparked in you. You have authority. You will judge. You will prescribe what is right to the soul instead of accepting it. For you are the judge. Conscience demands a critical mind. A critical mind evaluates to make sure that what is accepted is pure and profanes not the autonomy of self. The autonomy of self is God in perspective within that individual form or soul. Kill that conscience, and that aspect of conscience in God is dead and sacrificed. You can receive knowledge or you can conceive intelligence. When your conscience is your guide, you always know which one is right. So, those that tell you not to trust your own understanding, which is your own conscientious awareness of self in accepting, is telling you to cast off Christ inside of you so you can refill the empty vessel with external demons. Listen, even if I tell you something, you must analyze before accepting. Those that go and sell the medicine, those that enforce the prescription based on the mere fact that the wise man said, are some external God ordered or demons themselves. They are demons themselves. Let none of them tell you that they erred or that they were mistaken. They were simply demons that resisted their consciences, and this does not mean that we do not all err. It means that not all errors are easily justified. Why would the error be that you deliberately outcasted God in order to receive God? You had a choice to watch your back or to make ulterior motive watch your back for you. What are your true ideals? All that external ones can do is to convince you. And if you study what you call the matrix, every evil that was done to you, every con and every deceit and every adverse thing that you have made befall you were simply things that were requested of you, sometimes even openly, but you agreed. Many times you claim that you were blindsided, but you were not. You simply agreed to take the easier way out all the time. And the moment you made that decision, the moment you made that decision, it meant that your conscience would have to be compromised. By taking ready done answers, you made it easier. You think. Why do you think you agree with those that tell you wrong? It is because you try to trick the pain of a hurting conscience by applying a virtual reality of what is true. So, if someone ever comes along to say that daunting truth, it is when you will hate that one, pretend that it was folly, that was true all the time. And to get rid of those that come to put your conscience in your face, you agree to crucify them. I mean, look, you take this easy way of getting these pleasures today by anarchy, from anarchy, serving the state of anarchy, and you always tell yourself, lying to you, that things will be good for you today, for your children tomorrow, and the hell where you will go by killing your conscience will be heaven in disguise. You tell yourself that by declaring that the flesh of God's Son is bread, so you will eat it, and by saying that his blood is wine, so you will drink it, you have purified your soul to conscience in God. You say to sacrifice and drink blood purifies your conscience, because to you it is easier to comply than to fight tyranny. You pretend and hope in your pretenses, but woe unto those that come to you to dig up conscience that you work so hard to bury. Woe unto them, you say, for you will not make their living here on earth be easy. When they tell you that by begging for blood to drink and for flesh to eat, you make a vampire ritual, you demand for their crucifixion. And when they are crucified too, and know that you do not hear from a dead conscience, you start pretending that you were victorious. And you set the great examples for your children. You think you have not seen the last of those that died fighting for truth and never to deny their consciences. Only you do not know. You will meet your conscience at that ultimate time. The God you fear so bad, whom you know will judge you, is a terrible conscience that will shake and quake the foundation of your being in ways so unimaginable. Judgment Day is the day of resurrection of conscience in you, and it will judge you. Conscience was not only given to or by authority, but it was the autonomy. It is the definition of love and heart, intrinsic to the all. It is the trigger of generic consciousness. It is the awareness, a spark of first light, of that which is rightful or equal. By this, we find that intelligence in the unconscionable mind, intelligence in the unconscionable mind will only bear the definition of anarchy. And so the adversary must have lost his soul when he sacrificed his conscience. There were these three: goodness, he sacrificed on the first day; truth, he sacrificed on the seventh day; and the second day, he sacrificed truth on the second day. And that was after he sacrificed goodness on the first. And upon the third, he sacrificed beauty at the equinox, where you see the magnificent glow of the gold-tinted red waning upon the horizon, the sign of that crucifying cross, as the Son of God within goes down and the line goes across the earth globe. The dead is come. And so, dear, Christ is slain by the death of the conscience. He will rise back to the zenith when he replenishes all three in same justice. Whenever you watch and see that horizon, remember the crucifixion of Christ by the crucifixion of conscience. So, what do I say? I tell you in these words that the secret of possessing a soul is to make him sacrifice the conscience. No soul lives without a conscience. Without a conscience, the one is a dark soul of adversary. There is no love, there is no truth. Conscience is the ultimate contract between the living and the divine. Wherever conscience is given, it is autonomy. Wherever intelligence is given, it is given to authority. Wherever conscience is dead, Christ is buried. There is no matrix greater than the heart. The entire earth is the heart of the original man. If the H in front of the word heart was placed at the back of the T, where it belongs, that alone would have long broken the matrix. For much of what has broken you is truth that was hidden when you decided to compromise. The heart is constructed by the conscience, for the conscience is the awareness and interpretation of generic consciousness. Conscience was when we wanted to be our true desires, and it manifested as earth, for example. Or, answer this: for what other reasons would a conscious being want to create? Tell me. For what reasons would a conscious being want to create? It is always to manifest desires in love, which is the heart. Every creation is from the heart and for the heart. Look at what you create and see the heart in it. Everything you create, the heart is in it. Look at the earth and its functionalities, the things we desire, and how the rain falls to water the seeds so we can show love for the beauty of the flowers. Our heart manifested, but we say it is as separate from heart just because we say earth. Our heart manifested, but we say it is as separate from heart just because we define it as earth. Yes, we hurt, for we create without conscience and we hurt. I am not playing with words. I am opening the channels by the words which are all true. What was the series of coincidences that gathered them together in one place at every time? It is called deliberation, from the word deliberate. That is the definition of your coincidence. First spark of energy came as curiosity, and that curiosity wanted to be aware of whatever. Was it goodness, was it truth, or was it beauty? These were the first interests, and one was always hidden in the other to become the Trinity, that is God, that is love, that is the will as conscience, truth of self, truth of desire, passion and appreciation. Anything outside of these walls will transgress it. So, by generic truth, sin was simply to profane the conscience. There is no other way to destroy a soul but to deliver it to a point where conscience becomes a still vice, that it acts out of character. This is why demonic and external principles are referred to as cults or cultures. We cultivate new mindsets. Conscience is always to question, to purify, to stay true to the ideal self. The most analytical human is the most conscientious. The most analytical human is the most conscientious. The most analytical human is the most conscientious. Therefore, if you will indoctrinate him, you cannot afford him his own understanding or his own connection to conscience. Conscience is heart, and heart is the receptor for universal love. It is the intrinsical link to God, and that conscience is the signature of God Almighty in concrete to the heart of living beings. So everything about matrix or every form of deceit is simply about blindsiding human souls and taking them away from truth to self. Truth to self and every definition of soul, love or heart has everything to do with conscience. Truth to self is always in self, and that is where our power lies. One day I was in a boat out at sea, and those that held me captive wanted me to accept these things that did not sit well with my heart. I refused, and their interpretation of my refusal was that, well, it was not that I was true to my conscience, but it was that I chose death. So they put weight on my feet and threw me in the ocean where I died. The place I went to was all spirit, but the one that I waited for, who eventually came, was one which I perceived without form. Yet I understood in or by a sense of form. He was outside of me and I saw it, but he was inside of me and I knew. And when the questions were asked, I could never lie about the incriminating answers. The things that I did came back to memory, which I did good or bad. I could not lie about all the answers. Why could I not lie? I realized that it was me and that higher self of conscience that spoke to me and saw me from outside of me and from inside of me. This is what the people on earth call a day of judgment. But the most interesting thing about the experience was this. When I was given the chance to move on, all doors of hells and paradises were open to me. I had clear choice. I could go up, I could go down, I could choose any realm I wanted, meaning that I had a right to choose where I wanted to go again. However, I had to choose where I should go, even in spite of myself. And although I wished to go higher, For there was a place where everyone wanted to go, and a few went gleefully. Oh, you should see those spirits dancing. It's not like it's a physical thing, but you actually have a sense of farm seeing them dancing. It's really hard to explain. I had a measure to make up before going there, for I saw that something which I failed to do, or what I wanted to do, especially because I felt the energies of some people on the earth. It was here in this afterlife today that I thought about it, and I realized that it was conscience. That thing that was speaking to me, that I was speaking to without words, that knew me from within and without, that I saw from within and without, was mere conscience. That God that I expected to come, that thing that I saw before me, that I felt inside of me, was just conscience. My first impression was like, oh goodness, conscience is God. I spoke to my conscience. That is the judgment. It prevents a lower vibrating being from advancing to a higher realm. Also, it may allow a higher vibrating being to descend from heaven to earth and pay kindness by way of soul sacrifices that are uplifting to their souls. These are empaths that give so much to the others. I also realized that as I was waiting to talk to that source, I felt on this earth realm that I chose every single individual separately. If it was 1,000 people, I felt each one separately at the same time with my one mind. And this is what I wanted to come back to do, to show them how not to feel how bad they feel, or how bad and futile they felt, to show them a wisdom that I knew that could make them happier, that could make them more autonomous in themselves. It was like I was going to go to that place that I really wanted to go, and then I was going to leave them suffering, and when I could just give them some pointers and then go the next time I had the chance. This is basically what happened. In all my memories, that's how I remember it. I felt all their pain, and I realized how one was all and all was one, but still it was the individual. That same one consciousness that spoke to me was everyone's conscience too. It was the one, but it was unique to all of us, inside of all of us. Even this day, I can conceive it, but it seems like words cannot explain it. You cannot explain, but you can only conceive it. Separate God from conscience, and there would be no self-awareness. There would be no consciousness. There would be no value, and there would be no God. My friend, please do think on these things. Peace out.